need a motion to approve the agenda for the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Lisa, all in favor? Aye, 7-0. And we are actually going to kick off tonight with a recognition for our PTA. Then we actually have quite a few presentations, which is exciting. So we're going to talk about our PTSA a little bit. Then we're going to do some Scholar Athlete Awards, and then we will have a Dollars for Scholars presentation just for those of you in the audience. And now I'm going to turn this off.
Good evening, I'm Brett Provenzano, Superintendent of Fairport Central Schools. One of the exciting parts about the things that occur in our schools is all the activity and all the parental and caregiver support that we continually have. You come to our schools, it's filled with our families, and they're an important part of everything that we do. We understand that they're the child's first teacher, and we also understand that it takes a group of people to coordinate and to make things happen, and we don't take it for granted. And this board continually wants to appreciate and recognize all the different parts that make us an incredible school district, and that's why we're celebrating our PTA, who does so many things behind so many events here in our schools. So Erica Bellis-Pacer is going to speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our PTA folks are probably either sporting events tonight. I don't think there's any concerts, or probably planning something for upcoming events. So I know that not everybody could be here. But just thanks for joining us tonight. As many of you know, all the members on our school board are actually parents, which is a little unusual. So many of us have actually had the privilege of volunteering with the PTSA for over the years. The experience gives us a deep appreciation for all the incredible impacts that our PTSAs have had and continue to have on the lives and the educational journeys of all of our students. So they do a lot of things, not just for fun, but there are a lot of educational components as well that are special. Your dedication through countless volunteer hours and tireless fundraising efforts is truly outstanding. The difference you make in our schools is not only visible, it is felt every day by students, teachers, and families alike. For those of you tuning in from home or sitting here tonight, there are simply too many events, projects, and contributions to name them all. But to name just a few of the things our PTSAs do would be fun runs, book fairs, the Fall Fun Fair, movie nights, senior bash, teacher and staff appreciation events, Gaga pits, which are everywhere, pavilions, and the list goes on and on. Your work enriches our school community in so many ways. So on behalf of the board, thank you for your continued support, your energy, and your unwavering commitment to making Fairport such a special place to learn and grow. So we are truly grateful. Thank you.
So we'll be providing a certificate we'll be sending to the main offices, I think next week. So your principals will have them, but just for the sake of tonight, we just wanted to recognize. And
so if you are from JA, would you mind standing up so we can recognize you? Okay, well, yay, JA. If you are from Dudley and you're here tonight, would you mind standing up? Thank you. If you're from Northside, would you mind standing up? Oh, yay, thank you. Brooks Hill. Thank you. Joanna Perrin. We love you too. Martha Brown. Thank you. And the high school and Minerva DeLand. I know they're together. Thank you. We heard from them that they were also very busy. So thank you. We understand you're super busy. So thanks for coming and joining us tonight. We really do appreciate everything. You will be getting certificates that one of us, maybe me, will be dropping off. So look for those. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so up next with our fun events, we are going to do our Winter Scholar Athlete Award. So Thank you, Mr. Killian, for being here.
Absolutely.
I know, yep, here we go.
Thank you. Every season, our State Athletic Association honors teams and individuals that excel in the classroom, and those student athletes and teams and schools work extremely hard for those grades, especially being student athletes, balancing everything that goes into interscholastic athletics and being a student. To receive that Scholar Athlete Team Recognition Award, a varsity team has to have an overall GPA for 75% of their roster. That 75% must be greater than or equal to 90% overall. Our first team is our alpine ski team, coached by Chris Barker. And Chris is a Fairport graduate. And as you can see the success that the team had, they were Section 5 Class A champions. And I bring Coach Barker's attention because he's a Fairport graduate as well. And the last time our team won the Section 5 championship, Coach Barker was a member of that team. So it was really nostalgic and special to be there at that moment, especially with the fire trucks as they led the team and the school bus into the parking lot. And you can see our individuals that went to the state championships, Ryan, Alessandro, and Michael. Michael was actually the giant slalom state champion and received a special award through News 8 prime time. So congratulations to our boys alpine ski team. Girls alpine ski team had a very successful season. We did have Sophia. She was a first-team All-County skier, and congratulations to them. Both of those teams are coached by Coach Barker. Moving on to boys basketball, had an extremely competitive season, playing in an extremely difficult AAA classification. You can see the student athletes on the screen that received All-County awards and other postseason awards, and they were Class AAA finalists, where we did make it all the way to the finals and just played a fantastic game with Rush Henrietta, and hats off to Rush Henrietta for winning the championship. And that team is coached by Scott Fitch, another Fairport graduate. On the girls basketball, coached by Tom Vasey, the team was Class AAA Section 5 champions, and congratulations to the student athletes that received postseason honors in terms of All-County. Another successful season for them. Congratulations to the girls basketball team. Moving on to boys bowling, coached by Jamie Maskley and Angela Hyman. You can see the student athletes that had some postseason recognition, and we had Nathan, Daniel, and Braden that were part of the state composite team. And that's where you are measured your scores based on the consistency that you have throughout the season. So it's not just one event, it's consistent. That's a more fair and equitable way to determine who's going to represent Section 5 at the state championships in terms of individuals. And they were part of a team that won the state championship, which was phenomenal. Noah was also a second-team All-County member, so congratulations on a successful season for boys bowling. Moving on to girls bowling, they are also coached by Jamie Maskley and Angela Hyman, and you can see the postseason honors that the team received. And Mackenzie Smolnick, she was the individual Class A individual champion. So congratulations to all of them, and they were also Monroe County League champions. Moving on to winter competitive cheerleading, coached by Olivia Pesci. You can see the postseason award honors right there for our individuals, and they finished in third place in the Class A Section 5 championships. Moving on to ice hockey, coached by Chris Moretter. Congratulations to Mark on his all-county performance, and the team did win a sectional game, did not advance through the quarterfinals, but congratulations to them and all of their hard work. Moving on to indoor track, you can see the roster size, and our indoor track teams and outdoor track teams are just bursting. They love our coaches, they love competing, and I'm extremely grateful for the support of the Board of Education with the support that we've gotten. And you can see all of the postseason honors that our student athletes have received in terms of all county, county championships, competing at the state meet down on Staten Island, and it was just a fantastic indoor track season for our boys. They're coached by Ben Buckley, another Fairport graduate. Girls indoor track, coached by Christy Moore. Again, another large, phenomenal roster, and you can see the postseason honors. Again, countless Monroe County champions, student athletes qualifying for the state championships down in Staten Island, and they again had a wonderful season. And I'll add Coach Moore is also a Fairport High School graduate. Boys Nordic Ski, coached by Anthony Kerr. Congratulations to Will, who was a second team All-County member, and also to Chloe Reuter on the girls' end, also coached by Anthony Kerr. She was a first team All-County. Season was a little tough because we didn't have a lot of snow, and thankfully we did get it later on in the year, and they ended up having a successful last 3 to 4 weeks of that season. Boys swimming and diving, coached by Coach Mike Kennedy. Overall, as a team, they were second place in the Class A Section 5 championships, a tremendous accomplishment. And again, you can see the postseason award winners and honors that our phenomenal swimmers achieved in terms of all county members and competing at our state championships. Great season by our boys swimming and diving team. Coach Kennedy is a Fairport graduate. Wrestling, coached by Bob Arau and Mike Pesci. Those two gentlemen are also Fairport graduates. They had a phenomenal season, and you can see the post-season honors there. We sent a record of 5 student athletes to the state championships. That's never been done in Fairport wrestling history before. And if you think of the tradition that Fairport wrestling has had from Coach Pete Logan all the way up to now Bob Arau and Mike Pesci, it's really was exciting to watch and be a part of and support them. This year we had our first girls wrestling team. That is a extremely hot growing sport right now. Very, very lucky to have the coaches that we had in terms of Tim Herman and Sarah Gardner. And you can see the postseason award winners, and a special congratulations to Sophie Machad, who was our first ever Section 5 champion in girls wrestling. And you'll be hearing a lot more about that sport. It is really growing, and it's exciting to see. It's also exciting to see the boys wrestling team and the girls wrestling team work together, because there is some sharing in terms of equipment. That's just the nature of the sport. There is some back and forth with coaches. Again, that's the nature of the sport. I did mention several times of the number of Fairport graduates that we have coaching our student athletes, and I think that's telling of the great experience that our graduates have had and wanting to give back. So I also appreciate the support of Superintendent Provenzano and our Board of Education as well. Thank you.
Teams, that's pretty impressive. Not only representing and doing great things and building memories, but doing a little learning too, it appears.
Yeah, we also had, girls varsity indoor track, overall GPA 95.65. Girls varsity basketball 95.45. Girls varsity Nordic skiing 96.6. So the life of an athlete, you're practicing at night or in the afternoon, depending on the venue. There's a real dedication on families. They don't eat dinner together anymore. There's a lot of driving, and it's not just in season. It's 12 months now, and there's a lot of passion behind it. So I really appreciate the support of all of our teachers and our families, because I know it takes a village, and really proud of the success of our teams. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next we have our Dollars for Scholars Donna Yaman Award. So I'm going to ask our presenters to come on up. You're more than welcome to go right to the podium.
Come up as a group.
Yeah.
Just check to make sure it's green.
You're an expert.
I'd like to also ask Francine and Marty and Jackie to come down.
I was going to say, sat on the
They're
far
trying
side.
to look incognito over there, but it's not going to work. I'd like to have you all stand here while I speak to what it is that we are doing here this evening. So good evening, everybody, to the members of the Board of Education and to the community of Fairport. I'm Eileen Hartman. I'm here this evening on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Fairport Parenton Chapter of Dollars for Scholars. We are a nonprofit organization which works with the community to provide local funds for local students who intend to pursue higher education. I am accompanied this evening by several other members and friends of the board. Shannon Yaman, who's standing here to my right, who's a Fairport grad, of course, and Karen Unclis, Debbie Reynolds, Tony Prietti, Pat Christie. Where are you? She was taking pictures. There she is. At the annual award ceremony on June 5th this year, we will be providing a record amount of funds to students, for the first time awarding an amount exceeding $100,000. Yeah. From our own fundraising and administered funds from community members. Wow, it's an amazing amount being used to tell students how much we believe in their current abilities and are engaged in their future success. One goal this evening is to thank the members of the Fairport High School Counseling Department who strive daily to strengthen the education of students by advising them, and who also strengthen our Dollars for Scholars pathway to success through their significant work with us. They're right behind me here. They serve as liaisons to the board. They write recommendations for students who are applying for scholarships, not just through Dollars for Scholars, but many other avenues. They act as a channel for material requests that support our fundraisers. They ensure students have directions for filling out scholarship applications, communicate with student ambassadors to assist with Dollars for Scholars event, and they show up. They show up in many ways, but they also show up physically to help us ID students and seat them for our annual culminating awards ceremony. They provide timely communications throughout the year with the board and with students who choose to submit scholarship applications. Not only do they honor this school district, but they understand the importance of community pride, of honor, of investment, and the success that it results from empowering partnerships with us. Our Dollars for Scholars chapter is pleased this evening to honor the women and the men of the Fairport High School Counseling Department by providing them with the Donna Yaman Honor Award. Donna Yaman was on the Dollars for Scholars board for many years, serving a lot of the time as scholarship chair, and she herself worked at Johanna Perrin in the counseling department as an assistant. It makes it even more relevant to connect Donna's time in the school district and the awarding of this honor to the lead of the Fairport High School Counseling Department, Francine Newton. And if you could come up here with me, that'd be great. And you have lots of support behind you too, with Marty and also Jackie. On behalf of the Dollars for Scholars Board, I thank you for allowing us the time to honor these incredible members of Fairport Central School District. Dollars for Scholars gains power from them and thanks them for their time, their ideas, and their service. We have a framed certificate of our actions to honor the department and have added the department name to the Dollars for Scholars plaque that hangs here at Fairport High School as well. Thank you so much for your attention to our presentation this evening. We're thrilled to have the connection to this counseling department. Marty Budendek is here as well, and Jackie Kenny. How can I forget that Irish name? Jackie Kenny. Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think we'll have a few photos.
If
you
I
like
could
to
just,
say a few
yeah,
words?
if I could just say it's the partnership for sure, and we're very, very lucky to have this Dollars for Scholars Committee with us, and I can share with you that many, many students need the financial support, so we really appreciate everything that you do. I don't know why I'm getting emotional right now, but so anyway, it really is an honor as a former committee member, and I know Marty is currently on the board now, but Jackie does a lot of behind the scenes things, so really good word. So anyway, we really appreciate the board's support of the Dollars for Scholars Committee as well, and I know it's a lot of work, so we really appreciate it, and more importantly, I think our students are the most appreciative, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We'll be looking forward to seeing everybody soon at the ceremony.
Yeah, the June 5th ceremony. Sure, get some pictures out. And I mean, 100,000, like,
That's
a
great.
that's
lot.
incredible.
I
Thank you.
know. Thank you. Francine, congratulations.
And we thank you very much.
Okay,
Have a
thank
great
you.
night, guys.
Do you want me to?
Thank you very much.
Okay, are we good?
I think so.
Okay. So next up, we have our public comments for tonight. I think everybody that signed up to do public comments got our policy and kind of know the I don't want to say rules, but the guidance around it. You'll have 3 minutes to talk. We just ask that you don't identify people by their names or any identifying characteristics because this is a public forum. Also, just make sure that you're respectful. I don't think anyone's going to have any shouting or obscene language, but I do just trying to cover all my bases. Just so you know, this is a business meeting for the board, so it's our meeting in public. We love having public comments so we can hear from our community and kind of get ideas of what they're thinking about. But this is not a time when we are able to respond. So we will listen to what you share with us. And then if you want to email any of us or Mr. Provenzano here, that is a great idea as well. But don't feel like we're being disrespectful, but it's just the way that the procedure works. So we'll listen and then feel free to contact us outside of this format if you would like to. And the first person we have up is Rebecca Erlacher. And just so you know, I'll give you a 30-second warning. I know, I feel like I scare people when I say so. And let us know when you want to start.
Is the button green? There you go. Okay, thank you. I'm good. Yeah. Good evening. My name is Becky Erlacher, and I'm coming to you tonight as a parent of 3 boys in the district. First, I want to thank the board for your dedication to the school district. Your hard work is truly appreciated. I am here today to shine a light on the paraprofessionals that work in the district's self-contained special classes. My oldest son has been in a self-contained classroom for his whole school career, starting in an 813 in elementary school and currently in the 12131 in middle school. I may be biased, but the kids in those rooms are pretty remarkable. My other boys have also been in or are currently in classrooms that have also had a paraprofessional working. I believe that every paraprofessional in the district plays a vital role to help make the students they work with and the buildings they work in successful. However, in many ways, the paraprofessionals that work in the self-contained classrooms have a very different job, and I believe that that deserves awareness. The level of individualized support for all aspects, including academics, but also health, safety, adaptive life skills, is significant. When you talk about a classroom ranging from completely nonverbal students to students like my son who have some language but have difficulty using it functionally, to students that struggle to regulate even when they have the language. The level at which the paraprofessionals have to get to know and be intuitive with these students is exceptional. And which that can be both very emotionally rewarding, but oftentimes very draining. In addition to the emotional piece, there are significant physical responsibilities, partially just the up and down, getting students to the nurse, getting shoes back on, but also preventing elopement situations, which can range greatly in severity. In addition, there are times when these students are unable to verbally communicate, and it can become a physical communication, my son included in this moment. Paraprofessionals in these rooms must navigate complex IEPs, which can be lengthy and detailed. Again, I know from experience. They need to understand behavioral intervention plans and track data for functional behavioral assessments. There are often assistive tech devices in these classrooms, my son included, which require a lot of time to get familiar with, not to mention if there is more than one device or more than one program, touch chat versus LAMP, for example, in the classroom. As a parent of a student in these classrooms, a student who cannot come home and tell me what happened during the day, who cannot advocate for himself, I have to put so much faith and trust into the staff of these classrooms, so I believe that these positions really deserve more respect and support.
And you're at
I
30
could go
minutes.
on and on about these incredible classrooms, but I urge you to go into these rooms to truly see the amazing work that happens there. Those paras who work in those classrooms deserve your support. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I didn't scare you with my 30 seconds. Okay, and next we have Sarah Osterling, Maine. And same thing, let us know when you're ready, and I will try not to alert, make your job.
I have my timer ready too, so if I talk a little bit quickly, that's why. Just trying to get it all in. Okay. Good evening. For those I don't know, my name is Sarah Osterling, Maine. I come to you tonight as an admirer of the hard work you all do for our schools and as a wholehearted believer in the promise of an equitable public education. I also come to you as a parent of 3 young children and as a Fairport High School graduate who is fortunate to take advantage of the opportunities offered in this very building. With this background, I have deep concerns over the proposed school time changes for 2026. Supporting students means supporting the reality of families today. On the elementary side, I am concerned about the many families who currently do not need aftercare, but will as a result of this change. 5 days of aftercare is currently priced at $187 per child per week. For a family with 2 children, that's nearly $1,500 added to their monthly budget. How many families in this community can sustain an added $1,500 monthly expense in a district where 1 in 6 students qualify for free or reduced lunch? If any of you have personally navigated the world of childcare in any way, then you know the immense strain that it's already under. In addition to creating greater demand following school time changes, the high school students who make up some of the staff for these aftercare programs will also no longer be available. This policy will be expensive and disruptive for families with small children, an exhausted demographic that continually gets the short end of the stick. All of this for what? The research cited on your website is about the sleep needs of adolescents. This is, of course, a noble goal, but logic suggests that this policy change may not have the desired effect. Getting involved is an important part of the Raider Way, and it helps many kids, including me way back when, find their home at Fairport High School. In this new system, many of those school club times will be shifted to be before school, thus canceling out the stated benefits of more sleep. You may also see lower participation, which breaks my heart, meaning that students will lose out on positive mental health benefits and find themselves at a disadvantage for college admissions or scholarships. After school, how will students fit in sports, a job, and their homework? When they stay up later to fit it all in, they will once again cancel out the desired benefit. Finally, I am concerned about the impact this will have on our ability to attract and retain teachers. I am in awe of the amazing educators in this district, and I've had multiple teachers express their disappointment to me in private. I am concerned that this policy will create stress for families and a mess for educators and administrators without achieving its stated goal of more sleep and better mental health for teenagers. I humbly ask you to consider opening this topic back up for discussion or even a vote. Parents, teachers, and even students should have a meaningful voice in a policy with such a large impact on their day-to-day lives. Thank you all for your dedication to this community. I'm at 2:52.
I know. Thank you,
Thank you
Sarah.
all. Thank you.
Okay, up next we have Macy Ferris.
It's already on, ready? If it's green, it's ready for her? Okay, all right, use your tracker though, okay? All right, use your tracker with your hand, okay? All right. Okay, she's practiced it at home and it's around 2:20. Okay, go ahead, Macy. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Macy and I am in 2nd grade at Dudley, where I am also a member of Student Council. I want to talk to you today about the time changing at my school. I think it is really bad. If the time changes, kids will not be able to see when crossing for the bus in the dark morning. In the dark, I should still be waking up for the school day and not on the bus. Also, kids will always have to buy breakfast at school in the morning because they will be so rushed at home to eat. This will cost parents a lot of money. Parents may even still be sleeping when the bus is coming in the morning. Kids need help getting ready in the morning, and if there are two siblings, one of the siblings will have to help the other sibling, and that will take a lot of time. Everything about my day will be earlier. With lunch being earlier, I will be hungry for dinner when my parents are still at work. Since we are waking up so early for the bus, it will be hard to stay awake and concentrate. Now let me tell you about the end of the day. At the end of the day, if you have activities like I am in dance, your parents may not be home yet, so you might have to stay at a babysitter's house or at the YMCA for hours instead of being with your family like it is now when I get home. My friends and I have been used to getting on the bus later and getting home just in time for some homework and on to our activities. This is the time schedule that I have had for years, and we are used to it. Why do you need to change it? Can you explain it to me?
Thank you. Okay, next we have Amy Brockle.
I have to follow that, but
I
okay.
know, I was saying, we should have put, Macy should have been the ringer.
Okay. All right, good evening. My name is Amy Bruckle, and I'm here again as a parent and Fairport educator to speak to you about the proposed changes to school start times. I'd like to thank Superintendent Provenzano for meeting with me and other staff members regarding our concerns after speaking at the last board meeting. However, as I've investigated this issue further, more concerns and questions have come up, and to many of our initial questions and concerns, there are few answers or solutions. The most important point I'd like you to consider is that the times you have put forth will negatively impact our elementary students and families. It feels like your policy is supposed to improve outcomes of secondary students, but at the expense of our youngest learners and families. I have now heard that about 10 years ago, a team of teachers investigated this issue and proposed a later secondary schedule that did not change elementary start times. It is my understanding that this proposal was abandoned due to transportation. The current proposal accommodates a 3-tier busing schedule. As a parent, accommodating the transportation department's schedule is not a reason to upend families. A 2-tier system would allow elementary start times to remain the same while also starting secondary prior to 9 a.m., which I have heard over and over again from many people that they feel that 9 a.m. is too late, including I have heard through the grapevine that members of the board have had concerns about that. I believe your decision to push the secondary start times later comes from a good place, but it must be done the right way. If the research indicates that a secondary start time of between 8:15 and 8:30 is the sweet spot, then that is the time that you should propose. If you are going to cite research as a reason for your changes, then please listen to the research. I have heard from so many people concerned about how a 9 a.m. start time for FHS affects after-school clubs, athletics, kids with jobs, etc. The list of concerns far exceeds my 3 minutes here, and so few of those concerns have been addressed or have had their questions answered. For example, what is the policy on holding clubs and practices before school? Will this be permitted? If so, won't that contradict the purpose of the time change? The answers to these questions are unclear. It seems that you are ready to move forward with a flawed plan that will negatively affect so many students and families. Again, I beg you to do this right. Speaking of doing it right, Superintendent Provenzano said that the district anticipates a 40% increase in the number of families who will need aftercare. 40% is a huge number. It's nearly half. I've learned that the partnership with the YMCA will cost $600 per month per child. That's $6,000 a year. For a family like mine, we're looking at an expense of $18,000. Those figures are astronomical, to say the least, and it's forced on us through no decisions that we've made. Not to mention the very real fear that the program will be understaffed, poorly run, and capped, leaving families scrambling for after-school care. The list of concerns
Any of your
grows,
time
and I
is up.
ask you and I urge you to please, if you're going to make this monumental change, investigate all issues, all perspectives, and enact it correctly, or delay the change until you can do it right. Thank you.
And up next, we have Daniel Trigg.
My name is Dan. I'm a pediatrician. I'm relatively new to Fairport. I moved here because I met my partner here, and now we have a child, and he's going to be at Dudley in 5 years. And he's the highlight of my life. Thank you so much for being on the school board. I think the work you do is amazing. If I had the time to come here every day and listen, I genuinely would. I also want to express some concerns about this proposed school day change. I think I commend you for looking at the research into adolescent sleep, particularly in this day and age where so few people view the research and actually look at objective data and apply it to something like a school district. That's unusual and that's great. But I think that that needs to be viewed in the context of something like the clinic I work in terms of the impact on working families. Because the issue is that while kids do need more sleep, to me, that's a huge societal problem. And I don't know if a simple time change is going to fix that, number one. And I think the second part about it is that, as so many other folks have said, and I really like this a lot, after school care is hard to come by. It's often inaccessible. It's very expensive. And my experience with families is that they just either can't afford it, they don't do it, and they kind of cobble together a bunch of arrangements with like family members and other folks in the community and friends and babysitters. And I would just hate to see folks thrusted into that position. And I guess I'm asking the board to further research this and to look into what the impact would be on working families, whether it be with surveys or with, I don't know, I'm not an expert in these mechanisms, but to investigate it a little bit further. Because like, for a family like mine, my partner works, I work late. I'm just really concerned that even as a pediatrician, and I say this very seriously, I may not be able to afford the childcare that just got mentioned at those prices. Like, pediatricians are not very high in the physician pay system. And the second part of it is that I worry about its accessibility if I don't register early enough, all of these things. And it just concerns me because the one theme, and I'll end with this, that I see across all the patients I see in clinic is that on average in Western New York State, and this is evidence-based, a parent spends about 12 to 13 hours per week with their kids. And I would just hate to see that further reduced. And I say that as someone who works a lot and struggles with that as well. Like, that time is so precious, and I'm so very nervous that with this change, I'm not going to be able to spend time with my kid. That's all. Thank you so much for listening. I hope it didn't come close to 3 minutes. Thank you.
No,
It's 30 seconds.
you didn't even need the warning. Thank you. Okay. We will move on to the rest of our agenda. So is our student advisor not here?
Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to figure out why you were here. Okay. Welcome. I wondered.
Yes.
So Ari, thanks for being with us today.
Of course, yes. Hello, my name is Ariana Toner. For those of you who do not know me, I'm a junior at Fairport High School. Yes.
Is your green light on, Ari?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. If I need to speak up, though, please let me know. Okay, good evening, members of the board. As we return from a well-deserved spring break, Fairport High School is back in full swing and ready to finish the fourth quarter strong. Students are recharged and focused, even as the weather turns more inviting, with AP exams and final assessments just around the corner. Over the past month, our school has been buzzing with activity and celebration. We kicked off the quarter with one of our most beloved traditions, the annual hoedown. Congratulations to the class of 2025 for taking the win this year. A big thank you to our PE staff, guest judges, and hoedown caller Jim Gata for making this event such a memorable one for both students and staff. We're also incredibly proud to share that one of our Odyssey of the Mind teams placed first at the New York State Tournament and will be heading to the World Finals at Michigan State University next month. Congratulations to the entire team for their creativity and hard work. Looking ahead, we're already gearing up for the 29th year of our Irish exchange program with Caroline Community School. Applications are now open, and we're excited to continue this long-standing cultural connection. Finally, we have a packed schedule in the coming weeks, including the Class of 2027 dance, the DWI simulation, junior prom, and senior ball. And of course, we're eagerly anticipating our senior grad walk, graduation rehearsal, and graduation day in June. Thank you for your continued support of our students and school community. We're looking forward to a strong finish to the year. Thank you.
Thanks, Ari. So I don't have to go over and ask why you're here. I think we're overrepresented with Odyssey of the Mind folks tonight. Yes.
Oh, you're on that team?
She is.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My younger brother also was able to place first on his team.
You guys are amazing.
Also coached by.
Yup.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you, Macy.
So up next, we have the President's Report. So welcome back from spring break. It was wonderful to see all our schools buzzing with energy yesterday when students and staff returned. It is also Earth Day, so a very happy Earth Day to everyone. Personally, I'm excited that we get to see a little more sunshine. Our days go a little bit longer, which to me is very helpful. April has been a very busy month across the district, just like Ari shared with us. Spring sports are in full swing, and our students have been actively participating in things like robotics and Odyssey of the Mind competitions. As always, the creativity, teamwork, and enthusiasm of our students here in Fairport continues to shine. Tonight, we'll be hearing about the budget again, another amazing opportunity. So we will have the budget presentation for the upcoming school year. We're hopeful that the state budget will be finalized in the coming days. That will help us bring clarity to our financial planning. Yesterday marked the deadline for school board petitions, and I'm pleased to share that Jan and Brian will be running for the 2 open seats this May. Their dedication to the school board over the past 3 years has been outstanding, so thank you both for continuing your advocacy and unwavering support for our schools and taking another run at it. So looking forward to the end of the school year. And I'm going to pass it on to Superintendent Brett Provenzano. Oh, that's why I said it. I didn't want to take anything from your exciting stuff, which I see is coming up next.
It's that time of the year. We are recognizing so many of our staff, from our school administrators, from our administrative professionals, administrative assistants, which is tomorrow actually, and we have celebrated our teachers. They'll be actually being celebrated actually next month. Paraprofessionals, I think we had somebody speak this evening on the important work and the dynamic work of our paraprofessionals. School Lunch Hero Month is upon us. Our bus or transportation bus driver appreciation day, our school nurses, and so much more. It takes so many people to make our school district be amazing, and we see that being played out in so many different ways, and particularly this next month. And this morning, if you were up bright and early, we had Jeremy and Doug and Lindsay were representing Fairport along with John Kidd and some of our bus drivers speaking about transportation and the importance of transportation. I'll be sharing that video. We'll be putting it out there, I'm sure, on our social media. But just think about 96 active bus drivers, 127 employees, 105 school buses, 6,500 miles driven each day, right? 44 schools served each day. That's 8 in district, 14 special ed, 22 private parochial throughout the whole county. So they really make an impact, and we celebrated them this morning, just like we'll be celebrating others throughout the month. So I'll be looking forward to sharing that video. As we were talking about April, there was a consolidation update here. We talked on March 28th with a group of educators from our paraprofessionals to administrators to board members to staff members about how are we going to transition our students effectively. There's been a concerted effort on the consolidation, which is happening in 26-27, coming up with an induction plan. We talked about tonight in the workshop about a group of educators coming together this summer to work on an orientation, again, all based upon the transition. School start time shift, that conversation has certainly gotten a lot of attention over the past several weeks because it is slotted to occur in 26-27. There's a frequently asked question document that we have that we'll be sharing that addresses some of the questions that are out there that we've looked into, researched, and studied. And of course, our partnership with the YMCA is critically important, and they are not at a point in time where they're going to be communicating rates right now because it's right in the middle of their 25, 26 enrollment period. They don't want to get conflated with 26, 27. So I know people are anxious to see how that's going to work, but we did partner with the Y and extend our partnership with the Y because of their standing and commitment to meet the needs of our community as we go through this. Staff culture was an important part of the transition team meeting. There was a wellness survey that was reviewed with the members that were part of the consolidation committee. Right now, we're in the middle of an analysis of collective bargaining units to make sure when we have the consolidation that we're honoring those commitments we have with our collective bargaining units. And we're going to continue to work with our teacher leaderships on contractual logistics to make sure that the questions they have about where staff is going to be going, where seniority plays, and so on and so forth, and recommendations that they might have moving forward, and I'll be presenting to the board next fall. We talked about district site and facilities use. At that meeting, the reports on safety and security, traffic flow and analysis, and then the future use of Minerva Deland. We're finalizing with the community right now, a community partner on how we'll be using Minerva Deland, just a portion of it as we move along. It'll be a BOCES partnership, but we'll be talking about that more in the future on how we'll be using some of Minerva Deland. But it's happening in 26, 27, but right now there's so much planning and organizing around it. Much more to talk about our pillars and our work plans as we move forward. So thank you for allowing us to share this update and move along in this work. Very important night occurred this past month at Spark Night. This is why we're with Lindsay Reddick and Travis Wood and the team that planned so much around Spark. There was close to 800 families registered to participate in that. There was K-8 families, and I think it was a I think we reached them. And the most impressive thing about that video, and I wish I prefaced it, was the intent on those learners' faces, right? The excitement, the engagement, and that's an investment in our schools. Like the board has invested in our Spark Labs. The board has invested in robust extracurricular and elective programs that are currently occurring right now here at the high school. We have a PTA, parent groups, that support our Odyssey of the Mind, and so many things that are reflected in that night are part of what we do here every single day, and it's definitely part of our budget process, which I know that President Bellis Pacer was speaking to, which we'll be talking about tonight. It's April 22nd. We'll be reviewing the recommendation for the budget and hopefully have a budget adoption tonight. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay, which leads us to our board member committee reports. And I know April was a little, yeah, so I just want to throw it out to the group.
I figured, I'm like, oh, it's probably a busy month.
No, I think with the break.
Everybody must have a lot. Yeah, so actually, it's really, oh, sorry. Yeah, whichever, I don't know. So, first of all, it's really perfect because actually the two topics of the meetings that I went to will be brought up later on in terms of our new voting booths and our new requirements for board student representatives. So they fit really nicely. First of all, the district operations last month, it seems like it was a while ago, but we had a really great presentation on our new ES and S express voting booths. And I have to say, Sarah, our district clerks across Monroe County are really the experts on this. So she really should be giving this presentation. She knows it all. And she was with me at this meeting too. So we will be unveiling these at our district budget vote in May. We got a chance to try them out. They're really neat. They're really exciting. They were recently used in village elections. So like they're rolling them out slowly across New York, village elections, town elections, school board elections, and then they'll be slowly like unveiled in, primaries, eventually governor's races. And then actually the goal is that by the next presidential election, we will be using these. So a few highlights just to share. We will be receiving 8 ballot machines for this May's election. In fact, I think actually even at the Spark night, they even had a tutorial practicing. So it's because we know that's going to be new. It's a new lift, but there's going to be a lot of people on hand at the budget vote in May to kind of help people go through the process and learn how to use it. But we went through it, and trust me, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Very, very easy. A few things that's really exciting about it is that we will be having a really good savings in paper because we don't have to print out the ballots and then having to potentially waste ballots. It will all be on these blank sheets of paper. Just a few things about them. They are state and federal certified. There is no AI component. There's no connection to the internet. There's a lot of, of course, fears of going to be hacked, but no. Like I said, that we are going to save about $250,000 in paper, as the paper doesn't have, we don't have to pre-print ballots, so no extra ballots. These machines are going to be accessible. Currently, our ballot font size is at a 9. Really tight, really the tiniest possible font size you could imagine. And so now people will be able to enlarge the text. Voters can now choose between English and Spanish and any other languages that the district feels we need to put forth for our voters. We can, it takes about 80 seconds on average to cast your ballot, and we can get through 60 voters per hour. So just really efficient, really effective. Just a few myths versus facts, contrary to what people may think. There will be a verifiable paper ballot. So if we ever needed to do a recount or an audit, we will have all the data sticks and receipt tapes. proposition. So, you used to have to we have to flip the paper over to see the proposition. People forget to flip it over, they don't see it. Now, the proposition will be right on the front screen, just so that I think it'll be a lot clearer for people. There are so many prompts to ensure that your ballot was correct, how you want it filled out. There will be prompts that if you overvote or undervote, just some really, really, really great safeguards. So it was really exciting. It was really great. So just wait till you see them in May, on May 20th, as mentioned, to vote for our budget. And then our second meeting, this was info exchange, and this was so exciting. I'm so excited for this. I know we're going to talk about it later in policy, but there is a new requirement being put out by New York State to have a ex officio student representative. We do have a student advisor. The idea is now to have at least one high school student who will be a non-voting member, sit more at the table with us, not kind of just come and go, but being really more of an integral part of our process. And I know you'll share more about it in policy, kind of what our thoughts and the parameters and procedures are going to be. I think it's going to be really exciting. It's just such a great way to get our kids involved in the civic process. Kids who might be interested one day in going into education or going into law or going into policy, they can see kind of the high level of the way schools work. The idea is that they sit with us at all public meetings and hearings. They may be able to participate in such things like district activities, even a school visit. We know that they would not be allowed, they wouldn't be attending executive sessions, they would not be voting, but could be a really great experience for our students to participate. So yeah, 2 really great meetings this month. So I'm excited to see what's going to come.
We had Monroe County School Board Legislative a few weeks ago. Both of the regents from the area came to visit. I had to leave. Erica can fill in the gaps, but a lot of the talk there was about the impact of what's going on at the federal level, and it's a whole lot of fear, a whole lot of uncertainty, a whole lot of we're waiting to see what's going on. But I think we're getting good guidance from the state ed department. And that's kind of what we do here. We follow our guidance from state ed, and we keep supporting our students and our teachers. And so the federal level is that. The state level, when Erica said hopefully the budget will be in days, if that's a very liberal use of the word days, I agree. It's, probably next week at the very earliest, given the way things are going. It's not anything being held up school-wise or education funding-wise. It's policy and other debates going on in Albany, which is not great for us since we're adopting a budget tonight. But I know we'll discuss that. The one thing that is going to happen legislatively at some point in the budget is the smartphone restrictions. It's not a ban, but the new restrictions. And everything that's being reported and that we're hearing is that it's most likely going to be bell-to-bell somewhat restrictions, which the governor has been pushing for, probably a little less local control than we've been advocating for at the state and local level. But I know we talked about that at our workshop with our code of conduct, and our team has been is aware of this and is working on it, so we're on top of it as best we can be.
And I can just say, if you're not familiar, we do have folks that represent us on the Board of Regents. Both Regent Norwood and Hale were there. They gave us a presentation. They shared that they were able to go to DC and advocate in terms of continued funding for a variety of things. I think the biggest thing that we talked about was funding under different titles. So looking at where that's going to play out in terms of Title I, Title IX, and just continue to advocate for the fact that we need that funding. With my job, we talk a lot about IDEA. As it looks now, it's moving under the Health and Human Services sector, but what that will look like is still up in the air. I will say, on a positive note, both of them, talked about having hope, working together, and just advocating. We live in the state of New York. We're not as dependent as other states that I work with. on some of that federal funding. So I know Brian and I and the rest of the board will continue to advocate for what we think public education really needs, and I think they are too. They're going to be coming back in for an additional session with us, which is unusual to do a working session with us, so we can come up with more talking points and advocacy. So
Our local legislators and our regents are both incredible advocates, are all incredible advocates for public education. So we appreciate the work they do and the partnership that we have with them.
absolutely. Staying positive.
Erica, is that future meeting specifically with our district or with our county? Or?
So it would be with the legislative committee, and then they would come in, so it's representatives from across Monroe County. So there's at least 2 people from each school board that attend the meetings, and superintendents as well. And then the regents, and I don't know, possibly some of our legislators, but they'll probably still be in Albany in June, right? So just kidding.
That's not funny.
But yeah, so just know that, you know, we're doing everything we can to advocate for funding for public education, and we'll continue to do so. Any other reports? Okay. So up next, we have our treasurer and investment update, Jeremy Nardone.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So as you can see, this is the February treasurer's report. Beginning cash balance is $94.3 million. Just to point out a couple receipts in the month, we did get Monroe County sales tax this month, and we did get our receivable finally for the Smart Schools Bond Act. So this is the project we did when we equipped all the doors with that access point to get in with the fob instead of a key. So it takes a long time to get that money. I'm excited to see it in. I didn't get it back in my old district, so I'm excited to see that we got it here because it is a nightmare to try to claim that. So that project should be closed out, and that's exciting, and that's pretty much all the receipts. So we did bring in about $3.9 million in the current year, or in the current month. Disbursements is just your normal disbursements. You have your 2 payrolls, your accounts payable, some health insurance. So we got $11.7 million there in disbursements for an ending cash balance of $86.5 million. And then you can see there at the bottom how it breaks it out of how we have our money. We have a lot of money right now that's sitting in T-bills. Our investments are still high. We're still getting about 4.2% on the T-bills. And not to worry, because the money that's not in T-bills, it's either in the sweep accounts or the CDs, those are also earning right around 4%. So it's kind of like we're spreading our money to the different banks because different banks offer us different options. So we are getting tremendous interest rates. Again, shout out to Mr. Eckert on his investments. And that's it.
Thank you. Nice job on your media experience today, too.
It was interesting. Thank you.
Throw you right in. So up next, we have presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Superintendent Provenzano and team.
Yeah, I guess. One thing I couldn't overcome, I realized that. I was like, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present this 25-26 budget. Even though, like board members were saying, we do not have a final budget in place, but we do have levels of confidence that, you know, dollars are pretty much squared away. We have an initial estimate, or an initial, from the state that speaks to how we can move forward with the budget process, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, and how we plan to provide that same program that you saw in that little clip about all the wonderful things that were happening in our school, so we can continue that into next year. We'll be talking about our budget goals, enrollments and sections, the three-part budget, which speaks to the expenditures, which includes the programs, the administrative costs, and the capital costs associated with our district. And Mr. Nardone is going to talk about the revenue and some voter propositions, and rounding out our process. But before we do that, I just have to say thank you. Jeremy coming in the middle of the process, really wrapping it, owning it, investing it. I really appreciate that. Mr. Stevens, who's not here, but his imprint is all over this budget and budget process, and really set us up to be successful. Your team in your office railing around to make sure that we have everything we have to present this. The board's clarity on goals and expectations in the fall really helps us get to this point and feel confident that we have a budget that we can recommend that aligns with our community's expectations, our students' expectations, our board's expectations. So, so many people make this a possible moment more than what this. Come on, what did I? Oh, you know what it is? This is why I didn't have it on. You know. This budget will allow us to achieve the goals the board set out, providing equitable access to student-centered whole child programming. All the events from Brotherhood Sisterhood Week to pep rallies to extracurricular activities to Mr. Killian here was talking about the 17 athletic teams that achieved academic excellence, right? Not only athletic excellence and represented our community with so much pride and passion that we're all proud of, but their academic prowess is something to be proud of and continue to build upon. The performing arts are alive, and while mental health is a critically important part of what our community expects, and it's part of this budget. Curriculum writing, we spent a lot of time talking about curriculum writing earlier with all the different projects that are occurring as we align our MTSS structures and focus on school improvement. Like, and that's exciting to speak about here, that it's just not about the extracurriculars and the clubs, which are critically important, but we're also doing a lot of rigorous things with our academic programming, and we're proud to be sharing that and representing that here tonight. Summer school programming, the connections that we make throughout the year are embedded. UPK is strong. We'll continue to get strong. We are committed to bolstering what UPK looks like. We're not adding another sections. There's 6 sections, right? And that's impressive. Over the past few years, we've been adding them, but we're going to bolster our partnerships, bolster our curriculum in the UPK, bolster our social emotional learning expectations. So when our families come next, when they become kindergartners, they know Fairport and getting a good jump. So that's how we're going to continue to build upon those pieces. We know that we want to build modern, environmentally sustainable facilities, making sure that we are committed to the upkeep and maintenance of our facilities, making sure you go to our schools. Right now, they're being used in so many different ways. This is one of my favorite slides. 303 acres, 12 buildings, 900 wireless access points, 4,500 Chromebooks, over 300 staff Chromebooks. Again, that's how we're connecting, engaging in the classroom in many cases. 4,900 students are transported daily. 1 million miles are driven yearly. Those are cost centers, right? And we are going to produce a budget that will help us maintain our promises to make sure we can provide a programming through our physical plant in a sustainable way, and also do it in a fiscally responsible way. We've really done a lot with under the hood, right? I know we sort of chuckle about that, but it really puts the budget at the forefront, starting in December, right? And getting community members in to really take a look at all the nuances of the budget and the budget process, to look at all the components and integral pieces from state aid to revenue pieces. The commentator, I'm excited for the commentator to come out. Lindsay and team have done an amazing job talking about the return on the investment that we have, the achievement that occurs in our schools. And it's just not academic achievement, it's personal achievement, it's people experiencing their personal best. That's going to be talking about how we're doing that every single day in our schools and providing value to our community. Again, that's part of the board's goals about being transparent about who we are, what we believe, and how we have great value in our schools. And of course, maintaining our strong financial position. It's all part of this budget. So from that point, I'm really proud of the fact that we're right on the mark. Enrollment trends, it's something that we've been studying for the past several years. Anywhere from less than 1% to 2% over the past 5 years, we've received declining enrollment. But we're expecting that to steady out now, right? And we're starting to see consistent enrollments. You could just see by looking at this 2025-26, 359, right? Over time, we expect that to grow a little bit based upon our study with our survival ratios, that people will come migrating to Fairport because it's a place where people want to come to. But that's not where we were, when I was here 20 years ago, right? We've lost, a significant number of over 1,000, well over 1,000, and some since I was here 20 years ago. But we expected this, but we're at a place where we're leveling out. But at the same time, costs have gone up. Safety and security has been part of the conversation over the past several years. Increase in mental health staff, our commitments that we're honored to share with our special ed population, our ENL population, technology in the schools, and so on and so forth. So even though we've had decline in enrollment, we've had costs that have helped offset those. So it's not always a one-to-one. We have class size expectations in Fairport. We send out surveys to our community. One thing we're always doing is sending out information to our community, particularly around budget time, our staff as well. And we have a budget that keeps our K-5 class size targets similar to what we've come to expect. We also are going to be realizing 6 less sections, which will be through attrition. We will not be hiring 6 natural educators back just because of the enrollments, because we don't have the bodies to fill the classes. However, again, we're doing it in a very natural way. There's no layoffs, no one's losing a job because of declining enrollment. We're just taking advantage of natural attrition that's occurring that I just shared with you on the previous slide. What's that?
Oh, through retirement.
Yes, definitely through retirement, yes. We have retirees that we'll be celebrating next month, but, and again, -6. Secondary, similar expectations that it has been in previous years. There will be anomalies. I think we heard about an education class, a pathways class. There's lower enrollments there because we're trying to promote pathways to education. There are technology classes and family consumer science classes where class size makes a difference, and whether it's around safety, using materials and technology tools, whether it's a capstone or an art class. Sometimes you have lower numbers, especially with our elective program. Sometimes we'll have anywhere between 18 to 20 as a rule, as a general rule, to fill those classes. But those are still up and running and meeting the expectations of our community. Employee benefits. One thing that we will see throughout this presentation, and this is not just a Fairport thing, health care increases. You'll see health and dental insurance. There's a $3.5 million increase. Now, again, this is not something that we're like, oh, I can't believe, because we want to be able to provide health care to our staff. It's an important part of how you recruit and retain, but this is a natural cost of what's occurring, not just in Fairport, but throughout. And you'll see throughout this budget a consistent line where health and dental insurance has increased. Our employee retirement contributions, I skipped that, excuse me. Employee contribution rate estimated increase from an average contribution of 15 .2 to 16.5. Now, our ERS, those are our non-certificated employees, right? And our certificated employees, the TRS system, employer contribution rate estimated decrease from 10.1 to 9.5. Now, both of those are percentage of staff overall salaries. So those rates will fluctuate, and that's also impacting the budget. We have about 1,100 staff members. Again, really proud of that fact that we're one of the largest employers in the town, actually, and they go out in the community and do great things and contribute, and we're a part of that. Workman's compensation, other benefits like med, life insurance, unemployment, disability, all the cost of running an organization this size. First part is the program budget. Program budget, I'm not going to go over every single line by line, but you see staff development, you'll see like a 5.35% increase. That's because there was dollars shifted. BOCES had increased costs in some of our school improvement initiatives, and that's why that bumped up a little bit to 5.35%. Summer school, 11.86%. Now, that's pretty much mostly our middle school summer school program. Just the cost of running that has increased. They do great things. We service between 50 to 75 kids each year at our summer school program and STAR, and it's a worthy investment. It keeps kids connected to our schools and engaged, and we're able to help them move through the middle years. Great program, and part of our district. Student services, pupil services is a 4.65% increase. Again, that was an increase to, I had that written down here that I thought was the athletic, yes. It was relative to the athletic centuries, safety and security, sporting events, making sure that we had proper security and support around our environment. That was a 4.65% increase. The overall total program budget was 3.9% increase. That's, in order to run our program, that's 75% of what we do. It's a people-driven business. It's a 3.9% increase. Next part is our administrative budget. That's community relations, superintendent's office, Board of Education has a line in there, the business office. It's also all of our software that we use, from Pick My Kid Up, from School Tool. Everyone knows Parent Square. We talked about all the the software, Lightspeed. That's the administrative costs associated working with BOCES and those components. Now, the administrative budget, again, there's a decrease of -5%. That's because of a salary adjustment that was in there for the board clerk. No longer, there was a decrease in that. The superintendent's office, central administration, 7.24%. That's supplies, contractual expenses, equipment, and salary for my office. 6.19% for the business office. Again, making sure that we have the right staff, recruiting, retaining, making sure that we could do the business of the district with some salary adjustments. And again, supplies and materials have increased in that realm as well, and other contractual items, and that's a 6.19%. Other central services, again, that's where you see all those software packages like Pick My Kid Up, School Tool, Parent Square, Lightspeed, all the state reporting pieces. The cost of business, just like it happens in your own house, from mailing to other services that the district engages in, that's a 13% increase. Again, the cost of doing business, that's how I see it. Other central services and special items. Employee benefits, again, you'll see 9.3%. You saw 9.3% in the program as well. It's consistently, with a total administrative budget of 6.43% increase in that line. Again, that's 11.2% of the total budget. Capital component, this is the third part. That's 1.2 million square feet. That's 8 school buildings, 4 administrative support buildings, 300 acres of grounds, transportation, all the things that requires for us to provide a program and make sure we do it in a physical plant that's safe engaging and welcoming and, makes people want to be a part of our program. That's the capital budget here, operation, maintenance, and security. You'll see a 2.5% increase, minus 8% increase in bus purchases, which I'll explain in the next slide. And employee benefits is, there it is, again, 9.36. And the debt service is minus 44. That's because we're no longer receiving or doing bans to pay for debt that's oncoming. And then you'll see the internal transfer to debt service and capital, where there's a 14.4%, because that's time to pay for previous projects that were voter approved, right? And you'll sort of see how that's a 14% increase, but the overall, it's a minus 1% in that total budget. For the buses, we're looking to replace buses. We're on a 10-year replacement cycle. It includes 9 buses, 70 passenger replacement buses. And you can sort of see the total cost is $1.8 million minus trade-in of those buses of 12.5 with a net cost of 1.8. But the funding sources, we're going to use in the general fund, 1.6, and use the bus reserve funding, which we'll be talking about in a little bit and what that's going to look like, of 200+ thousand, and that's how those sort of balance each other out.
Sorry, Superintendent Provenzano, trading in only 5 out of the 9, is there a different reason for doing that?
We're looking at making sure that we plan for future possibilities, making sure that if we need extra buses in the future, trying to maximize the fleet, and we'll take the buses that have less wear and tear. You're only getting $2,000 for each. Yeah, so we have many times where buses are offline. We've seen that, whether the DOT has inspections, so we could, keep more buses. And like I think the other day we were talking to John Kidd, and they had absolutely no more buses because DOT, broke down, waiting for parts on another one. So we just thought it will be prudent to manage our fleet. What's that?
Can't believe that's all you get back.
Yeah. So you put all these together, the total cost from program, administrative, and capital is a 3.45% increase. And now Mr. Nardone is going to talk a little bit about how we're going to plan to pay for that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. All right. So our revenue sources, every school is either heavily related or reliable on state aid or property taxes. Based on our demographics, we're more reliable on our property taxes and state aid. So property taxes is the big one there at $90,355,000. Second by state aid at $53,500,000. So that state aid is anything from foundation aid to BOCES aid, transportation aid, and your excess cost aids that we'll get into. We do have pilots, $1,072,000. Those we'll get into in a little bit what those are. Sales tax, we are projecting an increase there of $400,000 to go to $6.8 million. We get that quarterly from Monroe County. We saw that in our treasurer's report. We did receive it in the month of February. Other is $2.3 million, and that could be anything from interest revenue and fees and charging of services for municipality fuel billing, stuff like that. Federal Medicaid, so going back to that federal concept, if they take the federal Medicaid away, there is a federal portion and a state portion. We would only be worried about the federal portion. We do budget $125,000. We have seen more come in, but from a budgetary standpoint, only that $125,000. Our assigned fund balance, that's how much we are keeping from this year, 24-25, to use in 25-26. So we're going to keep that flat at the $4.9 million. And then our reliance on reserves. We'll get into this in a couple slides, but we are projecting an increase in our reliance of reserves. Luckily, with all the COVID money that we got, the FEMA money that we got, we were able to fund our reserves and make them healthy. So definitely something we want to look back at giving back to the taxpayer before making any major modifications to our staffing. And then our debt service fund transfer. So every year we do this to protect the tax cap. We take an amount from our debt service fund. Think of this as a savings account that's kind of for debt. And we'll use some of that to pay for future debt costs. And that's at about $405,000, which is about a $9,000 decrease from the last year. So this slide here is just talking about our state aid, right? So the governor, the budget proposal, we do not have a budget right now, as Mr. Provenzano said. I will say, luckily, I guess, we were only anticipated to get a 2% increase, which was the due minimum. There has been no talk in any of the other budgets of going less than 2%. So I'm knocking on wood that is not going to happen. We could get more. I am not optimistic. That is not on the record as me saying we're going to get more. If we do get more, there will be no modification of the budget. It would just be, we'll monitor the budget and hopefully use reserves less in the coming year. So with 2% on foundation aid, it's a $641,000 increase. But what you're going to see in our budget is actually only about a $450,000 to $490,000 increase in foundation aid, and that is because of an over budget in 24-25. Because of these budgets not being timely, it's hard to accurately project the foundation aid, and we were very close, only being $100,000 off on a $32 million budget. So that is why you're not seeing a 2%. It's really 1.5%, but ideally it is the 2. There is foundation aid changes. So the Rockefeller Institution is looking and actually came up with modifications to the foundation aid formula. So that is actually helping some districts, hurting others, and it kept us at the 2%. And also in the proposals, there has been no touch of touching the expense-driven aids such as transportation, excess cost aid, or BOCES aid. So that is good. It should still flow the same way as normal, and we're not anticipating any decrease there. Also, we're seeing a $1.5 million decrease in overall state aid. That's attributable to a DASNY zero-emission bus grant that we are no longer going to get in the current year. Also, a $100,000 decrease in tuition aid, which fluctuates year over year, and also a decrease in building aid. So you saw kind of a decrease there in debt, especially on the band side. Whenever you see a decrease in debt, you're going to see a similar decrease in the building aid as well. So our revenue side of the budget. So this just gives you a snapshot of where we're at, especially with our state aid. So you can see there the foundation aid went up from $32.2 million to $32.6. Again, you're going to say that's not 2%, Jeremy. That's based on what we talked about earlier. Transportation, BOCES, and building aid did decrease. Our expenditures and transportation and BOCES do fluctuate on a yearly basis, so you're going to see a little fluctuation there. And again, the big change is the building aid. No change in excess cost aids. For those of you who don't know excess cost aids, we get private and public excess cost aid. Private is for students who attend private schools and parochial schools, and then the public excess cost aid is for special needs kids that attend BOCES. And actually, when we look at this and we actually put a budget together, the public excess cost aid, you have a $53,000 deduction. So let's say a student costs $200,000. They're going to take $53,000 right off the top and then multiply that by 54.9%, and that's your aid. Now let's take that as a private placement. A private placement, instead of getting a deduct of $53,000, only gets a deduct of $18,000, and instead of an aid ratio of 54.9, they actually get 86.8. So you get more money on kids that are actually outsourced to private institutions rather than BOCES. With that said, you can't just change placements. It's IEP driven, but it's definitely something we look at when students are being placed. Our transportation aid ratio is right around hovering at 70%. This year we're projecting 69.8. Our BOCES aid ratio, it fluctuates as well. We're anticipating that to be at 65.4%, and then building aid is also another fluctuator, and we're going to be right around that 75.4%. So total right there in the revenue is actually a decrease in state aid of about $1 million. This is the history of the foundation aid. I love this slide because it actually shows the huge increase that we received from 2020-21 through 2023-24, and that was when they fully phased in the original foundation aid formula. That is no longer the case because they made the updates. So in essence, Fairport was made whole. We were hurt all those years and we were not given the money that we deserved. We got that money back. Now it didn't make us whole from all those years that we lost it, but at least we got there eventually. So understanding the tax cap formula, I wanted to point this out because I actually get a lot of questions on this, and some of the questions actually come from my own family. I'm gonna go down to bullet point number 2. They say, well, how can the tax cap be higher than 2%? The governor says it's limited to 2%. And actually that first bullet is a quote from the governor back who implemented it, which was Governor Cuomo. that says limits the annual growth of property taxes levied by local governments and school districts to 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. That's why the misconception is there, because the governor mislabeled what the property tax cap is. That is not true. That is just one small part of the formula. There are many other parts that will either increase that number or decrease that number. And I want to definitely talk about that. So many factors go into it. It could be pilots, rate of inflation, tax-based growth factor, subsequent and current year debt exclusions, torts, pension increases. And we're going to go through each one of them. So pilots, again, these are those agreements made with the County of Monroe Industrial Development Agency, and it's actually incentivizes companies to come here and set up shop because it brings jobs to the community. So in order to do that and to bring tax revenue in and to bring jobs in, they give a little tax incentive for those companies. Usually they last about 10 years. Sometimes you can see them go on a little bit further, but those are what pilots are. When pilots come off the books, or when pilots are formed, the assessment is no longer on the rolls. It's separate. So it actually increases the taxes for everybody else for a short period of time. However, when those pilots come off the books, or back onto the books, I'm sorry, it actually lowers the taxes for everybody else because it increases assessments. So that is something that I'm definitely monitoring, is when are these pilots going to come back onto the assessment rolls so we can notify our taxpayers that, hey, we're anticipating a decrease in tax rate. Rate of inflation, again, that's at 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. Each January, the rate of inflation comes out. Business officials flock to the site at that time to see, what are we going to increase it? Is it 2% or is it less than 2%? Tax-based growth factor, that comes out. That is set by New York State. We do not have any control over it, and it's actually changes in new construction. It has no, it has nothing to do with increases in assessments for already existing properties. It's based on new construction and if you do any kind of renovations to your house. Debt exclusions. We compare our debt to our aid. Right? So right now we receive 75% back in building aid on capital projects and roughly 69% back on aid for buses. So you look at, you've got 100% cost, 69% aid or 75% aid. That difference is going to be that exclusion. Then there's pension increases. So as Mr. Provenzano said, ERS is increasing from 15.2 to 16.5. If there's more than a 2% increase, you can actually exclude that and tax the community for it. That is not the case this year. ERS is only going up 1.3, and TRS is actually decreasing. Tort exclusions, if there are judgments against the district in excess of 5% of the tax levy, we can do an exemption for that and tax for it. 5% of our levy is right around $4.5 million. That is not out there right now that I'm aware of, so there is no tort exclusion available for us. And then the last one is carryover. In essence, Fairport is not going to have carryover. Carryover is for districts who their aid is greater than their debt. And we're going to show you a calculation here on this other page. So that first bullet, 1.5 of the 2024-25 tax levy limit before exclusions. That's actually carryover calculation number 2. And that number is always going to be a positive number. But you have to take the lesser of, and it cannot be negative, it's going to be 0. Carryover calculation 1 is the difference between the tax levy limit before exclusions and the actual amount levied. Because our aid is less than our debt, we're always going to have a capital exclusion. Therefore, we're never going to have carryover. Carryover is for districts who fund projects in cash, because now they're going to have 0 debt in years 2 through 15, but they're going to have aid come on the books. So in essence, it is always there. It's always a factor of the calculation, but we will never see it. And here is our tax levy limit calculation. Has not really changed much. And there was a small adjustment in it for the changes in the selling back of the buses, but we made that up in the debt service transfer. It was about $9,200 difference, so not much at all. And this shows you that our tax levy limit for the year was 2.98%. And just to point out, the rate of inflation at the end was 2.95%. So we're right on target with the rate of inflation. Tax rate projection. So this is a tough one because we don't know what's going to happen to assessments. I had a nice meeting with the assessor, got to meet him, and he told me that the equalization rate is going to drop once again. So currently it's at 62%. That means your house is underassessed by 38%, and that's what drives the tax rate up. It's going to go down from 62% to 57%, which means in essence your house is almost half of what it really is worth. So when that gets reassessed, which is going to happen, I'm told, in September of '26, the tax rate's going to plummet because the assessed value is going to go up. And we're definitely going to inform the public on that next year when that is happening and make everybody aware of what's going on. So what we did, we didn't simply do the tax rate times 1.0298% because there's going to be that change in the equalization rate. So as equalization rate goes down, the tax rate's going to go up a little bit more. So what we did, because we wanted to be as accurate as we can for our taxpayers, we looked at just some minor adjustments with that, and we're anticipating the tax rate's going to go up about $1.06 from 24.95 to 26.01. Again, if you see that, you're going to say that's a really high tax rate compared to maybe another school who's at 19. Again, it has all to do with the equalization rate. So when we talk about the true tax value, I know we talked about that in one of the first presentations that I came to, it was actually around $17 per thousand. So if your house was fully assessed at what it should be, the tax rate's going to drop. So we're definitely going to inform the public when that happens next year. And then this slide is our projected revenue. So we talked about our expenses. This is how we're going to fund it with our revenue. So property taxes going up to 2.98%. That is tax cap compliant. So in order to pass the vote, we need 50%. Payments in lieu of taxes is going up 19%. That's just based on agreements. Sales tax, we are increasing largely there between our sales tax and our interest revenue, going up about $1.4 million. There's a small adjustment in there of $3,000. State aid, we talked about dropping $1 million based on the building aid. Transfer from debt service was to offset the buses that we're not selling in. And then assigned reserves is the big increase there. And again, can't stress it enough. We were able to fund the reserves. We don't want to make major modifications until we know we're actually using the reserves. And this is a graph here that shows our fund balance and reserves over the course of the last 4 years. So you can see it went from 6.5 to 7.2 to 8.7, now up to $11 million. And it shows how we're going to fund that. So we are increasing the amount we are funding from the ERS and TRS reserves. We do get those bills annually. They are large, so that is enough to cover the bills, and that's going up to $4.2 million. Also, we're looking to take some money out of the workers' compensation reserve and the EBLAR reserve, because every year we do have retirees that either will get a sick day buyout or a vacation day buyout, and you can actually use your EBLAR reserve to fund that. And then this shows, again, another slide on the fund balance and reserves, and it shows as a percent of the budget. So you can see it was hovering around 4.5% to 5%. Now we are up to 6.46%. But again, we're protecting that budget by increasing our reliance on reserves because we have to forecast for the unforeseen. You know, tomorrow we could have a family move in that needs 4 special ed placements, and we need to be able to service those kids. We can't say in the middle of January when that happens, we have to stop our services. So we got to maintain that and make sure that we can fund that for our students. And then our voter proposition. So this year, we're only going to have one proposition. The first one is always your budget vote. You're always going to have your board election seats. And then we're going to have one voter proposition for the use and authorization to spend out of our 2024 bus purchase reserve. And on this slide, you'll see it's a maximum of $206,000. On that other side, you saw the 202. That's just factoring in some increases there, because if it's a little more than that, we can't take any more than what the voters authorize, so we're going a little higher just to protect ourselves. And it just shows the date that the reserve was created, May 21st of 24, which was last year, and that we can take $206,000 out of it.
And that's because state law says because it's a bus capital reserve, it needs voter approval to spend out of that.
Yes, absolutely. And the only other reason you would ever have a proposition for buses is if you're buying them and funding them with bands or bonds, and we currently don't do that. We fund them out of our general fund budget. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Provenzano.
So again, it's April 22nd. This is the budget that we'll be presenting and recommending to the board as a whole. And I know you'll have a discussion about it in a little bit. On May 6th, there'll be a public hearing on the budget. And we'll continue to be communicating. People will be receiving their commentator in the mail. And for May 20th, where the annual budget vote and board election will occur. Again, there's another way just to outline that. May 6th, the public hearing. May 7th, meet the candidates, actually. 2 board candidates we just learned, Dr. Moritz and Fortuna. Congratulations, 2 open seats. And then on May 20th, the budget and vote and board elections at Joanna Perry Middle School from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. where you'll be able to cast your vote and your board elections. Any questions? And for clarification purposes, the trading in of the buses, trading in, was it five out of the 9, and then having the excess, so we have it on site to support.
Yeah, I think that
the
makes
daily
sense.
Functioning.
And maybe we'll get more bus drivers and then.
Well, that's always the goal.
That's,
That's
yeah,
always the goal.
I'm saying 2 runs, not 3.
Does that add, how much of a maintenance cost does that add just to maintain those buses?
Well, not all of them will be in circulation at once, so if there'll be buses, again, we'll use the bus. Right now, if the Department of Transportation comes and does an inspection, I think you saw that happening when there was a board visit. If there's one of our newer buses needs maintenance and mechanic, so hopefully we'll be able to manage that. I think they're probably going to be picking the buses that are most viable, if you will. So, well, yeah, well, yeah. So, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so, we move on to our board discussion and action items. And I need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the 2025-26 school budget in the amount of $165,369,483.
So moved.
Karen, Caitlin, Nicole, and discussion. I feel like we've had many. I know.
12 interactions.
I know.
I think that's good for the public to know, though, that we've been
Yeah.
having, what is this, meeting number 6, I think, that was specifically for this, plus many other smaller discussions leading up to it. So this isn't not the first time the board has looked at this. And
I did check YouTube just to see, because I know we've presented and talked about this at many board meetings and workshops, and it does look like over a couple hundred people are watching those, so I'm hoping that that means they are kind of up to date with our many discussions related to the budget as well.
gives me hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, no changes from some of the key metrics that I look at, right? Like the percentage change is tracking very close to inflation, no change in those numbers from prior discussions. We've already talked about the use of reserves and how we're going to handle the $3.5 million increase in the benefits costs. So, yeah, just again reiterating that point that we've kind of been down this road. And
That was a point of interest and concern for the board, is to make sure that we present a budget that is commensurate with what's happening in people's lives, right? So we feel that that's this budget. We feel that this is a budget that aligns with the rate of inflation and how people are managing their day-to-days, which we know is critically important, and still get the great experience that our kids get in Fairport.
Yep, and we're keeping our teachers. That is a big thing, because I know other districts are faced with some other tough decisions, so I know that was a priority for us as well. Any other thoughts? No? Okay. All in favor? Aye. 7-0. Okay.
Thank you.
And it's not over yet. I need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the 2025-26 property tax report card as attached.
So moved.
Brian,
Second.
Lisa, any discussion?
Can we just hear a little bit about what this is and what it means? I looked at it, and all the numbers are pretty, they're pretty much lining exactly up with the budget as you'd expect, but what's its purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. This is required to be submitted on SAM's State Aid Management System. It's due by April 28th. Every year that date changes a little bit, and it's pretty much just to show the state if you came in at your tax cap, above your tax cap, or below your tax cap. So if you look at letter I there, if that number is negative, then they're going to want that 60% voter approval, which means that you're going out above the cap. Now, our number, you see a number there, but you'll say, well, we're going out at our cap, so why is the number? That number is always going to match letter B because it's the library debt. So if that number was less than
Oh, yeah.
library debt, we would over-exceed the tax cap, and we would need 60% voter approval.
That's not happening.
That is not happening. Yes, thank you for that. That is
Yeah.
not happening.
The point you made during the budget presentation, so, yes. Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Aye. 7-0. Field trips. I need a motion that the board approves the attached field trips.
So moved.
Lisa, Jan. Great to see stuff that is even farther off than I would expect, so.
Kudos to the high
Yeah.
school for getting that senior trip planned. I was like, wow, that made it.
Yeah.
That's November.
Is there
like a board award for?
I think the award goes to Sarah
I was
Driscoll
gonna say
because
the same
Sarah
thing.
has
Thank
really
you.
put a lot of organization around this and communication with the buildings. And if it doesn't have that type of intention, it gets what it used to get. And again, that's not
No.
dispersion on anything or any, but Sarah's really put a lot of organization around. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. All in favor? Aye. 7-0. We actually have a new booster club request for the girls wrestling, which is exciting. So I need a motion to approve the establishment of a new booster club.
So moved.
Lisa? Jan? Exciting?
It is.
All in favor? Yeah. Aye. 7-0. Okay, now policy reads. This is our first read. I need a motion that the board approve the stated policies in the agenda.
Second.
Lisa, Brian.
Some order.
Discussion.
Real quick overview. Thank you to Superintendent Provenzano and his cabinet. We got a bunch and our board clerk. A bunch more policies moving forward, some from the finance office, from HR. You'll notice the school board elections is in both first read and second read because we want to get that process going for our ex officio board member. Update to our forwards and core beliefs. The Title IX policy you'll see is going back based on the court ruling or the exec order and some court rulings back to the 2020 version of Title IX. Still upholding all of our expectations here in New York State, though, for all of our students. Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
7-0. Next up, our second reads. I need a motion that the Board of Education approves the stated policies and forwards.
Second.
Nicole, Lisa? Any comments? I don't think we talked about them last time, so all in favor? Aye. 7-0. And this is something that we mentioned before. This is just a discussion, and it's about our procedure related to the school representative.
Yeah, so we'll see. We are not going to actually house this as a reg. We're going to house it in our handbook. But now tonight, once we kind of all confirm that we want it to go forward, we have started to Erica and I have started to come up with a timeline for what we're asking the district so we can, recruit some great students and get the essays going before they're too busy towards June. And hopefully we can get that 11th grader and 12th grader for next year who are interested in serving. And I know we've looked at this before, but did anybody have any questions, worries, hopes?
Thanks to Lisa and Mary Caitlin, who did put some more thought and energy into formulating what we would like to see. I think we had examples from other districts and from the state, but as we always do, we like to have our fair
I was just going to say
part.
thanks to Mary Caitlin because she really put in the time to wordsmith it and get it all put together and make it happen.
I appreciated the timeline too. I feel that works. And,
Looks good.
Yep.
Okay.
And if I have questions, I'll circle back, but we'll review it Tuesday.
Perfect. Yep. So I'm personally excited. So thank you.
I do know that at the high school, at the high school student council and elections for next year are underway. So I hope, that those students who are interested maybe in this position will learn more about it and get connected with counselors and everyone. I think it's so exciting. I'm really excited for it. I think we got some great students
I
that this
agree.
would be a good fit for.
Okay, so we don't have to do a motion, but, so we'll move on. So next up, I need a motion that the Board of Education approves the following donations. Brian? Second. Mary Caitlin. Again, I think we had this a couple months ago. There was a donation, I think, to pay off some food debt at one of our elementary schools. So thank you to the people, family, organization that donated this money so that we could recoup some funding.
I have a question on that. So when that happens, I know like right now, if a student is carrying lunch debt, they'll get letters home, and then at the end, if they don't get any different kind of lunch or anything, they don't know like lunch shaming, and at the end, the district will just end up, having to eat that cost or the food service. So I think one of the wonderful things about this donation is, or I guess I'm curious, does it end up erasing specific students' debts and they will stop getting those letters if that's a source of stress, or does it go just toward like a general fund to?
That's a great question. I asked the same thing on one of my meetings with Michelle there. Michelle will actually contact the person who donated and ask them how they want to split it up. And if they say just split it up anyway, she'll just take a little bit from everybody who has a negative balance at that school so that it's fair. Because you're right, if you just take it from student A, now it's like that student A got a benefit that none of the other students got. So it is done as fair as possible.
Perfect, thanks. Yeah, like my family sometimes will carry a debt just because we're slackers and haven't paid it, and I would rather that money go to a student who has real need other than to check their email more often.
But we got a letter over break. We were like, what? So yes, apparently we are also slackers. We paid it, don't worry, but I know, I worried about the same thing. Okay, all in favor? Aye. 7-0. Okay, so next up we have personnel. The first one is instructional, and I need a motion to approve the following instructional staff actions as recommended by the superintendent of schools. Brian?
Second.
I think it was Lisa?
Yeah.
Any, excited that we have a lot of things already in place for the upcoming fall. So kudos to Doug on moving quickly, and I know you're busy with more stuff. Yeah, so thank you. All in favor? Aye. 7-0. I need a motion to approve the following non-instructional and civil service staff actions as recommended by the superintendent of schools.
So moved.
Lisa? Nicole?
I love seeing those bus drivers.
Yeah, I agree. All in favor? Aye. 7-0. Athletics, I need a motion to approve the athletic staff actions as recommended by superintendent of schools.
Moved.
Brian?
Second.
Mary
Lisa.
Caitlin? All in favor? Aye. I'm glad they added the track since there's 180 of them. And then we have a we do have something that is a little different than typical, but it's a tenure, so congratulations. But I need a motion to approve the attached tenure appointment as recommended by the superintendent of schools. Mary Caitlin?
Second.
Rachel, and I think she was here, was she here earlier and left? No, okay, I thought she was here, I felt bad. So, congratulations in a second, but we had to, the way she came in was a little different, so that's why it's different than the rest of our folks that will receive tenure this year. So all in favor? Aye. Aye, 7-0.
Congratulations.
Yay! I thought she was here, I don't know why. Not now, but. I need a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Mary Caitlin?
Second.
Lisa? All in favor? Aye, 7-0. And more fun. just if you're watching from home, if you're still here, once a year, we do have to approve our VOCEs, the folks that represent us there. So we have a few things to approve here. So the first one is a motion that the Fairport Board of Education cast one vote for the election of David Brian Boutram, resident of Rush Henrietta Central School District, as a member of the Monroe BOCES Board for a term of office which will begin on July 1st, 2025 and end on June 30th, 2028. Brian? Nicole? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion that the Board of Education cast one vote for the election of Kim McCluskey, resident of Pittsburgh Central School District, as a member of the Monroe 1 Board, BOCES Board, for a term of office that will begin July 1st, 2025 and end on June 30th, 2028. Lisa? Brian, all in favor? Aye. Need a motion that the Board of Education cast one vote for the election of Rebecca Hicks, resident of East Rochester Union Free School District, as a member of the Monroe 1 BOCES Board for a term of office which will begin on July 1st, 2025 and end on June 30th, 2028. Lisa? Nicole, all in favor? Aye. And then the last thing we have to approve is their budget. So I need a motion that the Board of Education of the Fairport Central School District votes to approve the proposed Monroe BOCES administrative budget in the amount of $5,586,391 for the 2025-26 fiscal year.
So moved.
Mary Caitlin? Brian, all in favor? Aye. And I believe that we do not have an executive session.
Make a motion to.
So I'm gonna motion to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, do we need a motion?
Yeah, no, it's,
That's what I was trying to say, yeah.
A motion to remove.
yeah.
On the agenda. Okay. Motion to amend the agenda to no longer have an exec session? Can I get a second?
Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then motion to adjourn.
Oh, so moved.
Brian. Nicole, all in favor? Aye.
You did it. I thought we could get it in before.